Hi, everybody. Welcome to day two. This is so exciting. Um, this is all about turning your passion into purpose and then generating income from it. So, I'm going to teach you today how to create a month's worth of social media content in 2 hours. I understand how crazy overwhelming this can feel. And so I wanted to break this down for you guys. The point of this is for you to be happy and for you to find your purpose in yourself and to live a life that you want to live that fuels you. And that really makes you feel important and makes you feel special, and that highlights your gifts and you really enjoy doing. And that's like something I want you to be able to feel. And I want you to be able to get out of bed in the morning and have this amazing feeling about being able to do work on the things you're working on and not have to drag your ass out of bed. And that whole feeling of having to make money, it needs to end. And so I really want people to be happy. That's why I created this workshop. And I want to help people find a way of making money doing things that they love doing. And that's why we're going to be talking about generating revenue streams that support what you want to do, not what you have to do. So just remember why you're trying to figure this out. Let's think about it from the fact, what would your life look like if you wanted to do the thing that you wanted to do every single day, not that you had to do? So the first day of the workshop was all about clarity. It's all about figuring out or starting to figure out what you want to start selling, what you want to talk about, what you want to start generating income from, what you want to start generating revenue from. Really understanding who you are and how you want to work. So please download the workbook for today that comes along with the course, as well as the Excel file. And we're going to go through these exercises again, and I want you to fill them out as we're working through the process. There's going to be some of this that you're going to want to do on your own in your own time and come back to. And I really encourage you to let this settle in your brain and really get clear on the answers, and also realize that you don't have to know the answers to the questions just quite yet. You just have to kind of move the momentum forward. Start doing something that will generate you income. Journal on this, meditate on this, take walks on it. You don't have to know exactly what it is. Like, I personally had no idea what I was doing. I was like, I kept getting a response from my audience. It was like, I want that, and they would refer to me as that. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means. How do I put that in a bottle and sell it? How do I put self-worth in a bottle and sell it? So I just did this process that we're talking about now, and I created a community and I started engaging with a community. And I had no idea last year that I would be starting a beauty product line and I would be making a body stone gua sha, and I would have laughed in your face. I had no desire to do that. But this was how I started showing up. And this is, I consistently started showing up. I consistently started communicating with an audience, a community. I built community, and I started to provide that community with value by telling my story. And that's exactly what I'm doing here in this course. I'm explaining to you how I did this exact thing and how I've done this multiple times with multiple clients, and how they're generating 6 figures a month on a launch. And this is the exact process. It really fueled me to be able to help more than one client at a time. I wanted to help many people at a time. So I created this course that people can do in their own time. And so in the workbook, I really want you to dive into yourself and realize there's no right or wrong answers. You don't have to share your workbooks with anybody, but you want to think about who you are, what you are, how you want to work, and define yourself as a person. We're really going to get into who you are as a person and what you stand for, and all of the things that we went over in yesterday's exercises. What was really coming up for you, and then really start breaking those ideas down into what your brand is going to become, what your brand fundamentals are, what your brand pillars are going to be, and what they mean and how they benefit your audience. So what value do your brand pillars bring to your audience? And when I start talking about TikTokification of creating products, building community, and serving an audience. And when I say the TikTokification, I really want to be clear here in what that means. And I also want to explain that, like, I was so resistant to doing this. I was so resistant to showing up on social media. I was so judgmental to myself. I've worked through a lot of stuff to be able to show up on these platforms every day. But it came down to the point where am I going to find 4 billion people? I don't know. TikTok. So TikTok is a platform that has a massive 4 billion person audience, and it's based off of what people consume. So this is very different than every other platform. Every other platform, you build a community based on your current community, and then you outreach to new people. TikTok trends on what you already like, and then it brings to you what you already like. So it figures out the algorithm of what content you're consuming, and then it brings you content that's similar to what you're consuming. So this isn't about who you're following or who you're friends with. It shows the information based off what you're trending and what you're looking at in the platform, which is unbelievable. It is an unbelievable way to target people, because you're talking to people who already like what you're talking about. You're not casting a net and hoping someone likes what you have to say. You're talking directly to someone who wants to hear what you're saying because they like what you're talking about already in their ethos. It is completely different. So now that you've just worked on defining what you like and what your ethos is about, we're going to start talking about how to bring that into a platform where you can target people based on what they like. So it's much easier to gain traction and get conversions. You have an audience with a similar view or likes on the same types of things. You're going to be talking to people that like what you're talking about. Therefore, it's going to be so much easier to get a community started, to get engagement with an audience, to be able to provide them value and to talk about those things because they're already like-minded. This is harder in other platforms. And if you think about Instagram, they're both very important. But right now, in terms of targeting a demographic of like-minded people, TikTok is where it's at. Instagram is more at this point of the game for an audience member about the verification of who you are. So you need to post on both platforms, but understand that with TikTok, you'll be getting traction much faster with consistency. And Instagram is more like the fact checker of the relevancy of what you're talking about. So that's what the TikTokification means. You have the ability to engage with people in a faster rate based off the like-minded information that exists. You can scale that. You can see the traction. You can respond to your audience and then provide them with a product that converts immediately because of this. That's what TikTokification means. So in the world, it is almost impossible to find a way to communicate with people with this level of core engagement. So if we go back to this concept that I was talking about yesterday of the blue knitting needles, I don't know why I keep talking about knitting needles, but how would you find a community, a knitting community right now in this world? How do you find people that want to know about knitting? I don't even know how to do that. Like craft stores and then posting in a community board. I don't know. But I know if you go on TikTok and you start searching the hashtags for knitting needles, you'll start collecting a group of people that are interested in that product type and that type of thing very quickly. And then you can start talking to that knitting community. It's less throwing stuff against the wall and hoping that people hear you. It's less about casting the wide net. You're casting a very smaller net to a very dense group of people that want to be hit by the net. That's what TikTokification is. So while you're building this content schedule, really think about the specifics of what you're going to be talking about. It will start transacting. And then how do I bring that audience value? Why do they care about what I'm talking about? How am I bringing the audience value? This is like, I can't say this again and again and again. This is your layer of free content. It's very important that you provide value to your audience. So based off that audience that we just talked about, what is important to them? So if we start breaking down those 3 pillars that we talked about yesterday, think about the value that I'm bringing them, and then think about the keywords. What are the keywords that are going to define each pillar that we're talking about from a value add position? Am I educating them about X, Y, and Z? Is it about hydration? What are the keywords that have to do with hydration? Is that about education? Is it about knowledge? Is it about law? Is it about contracts? Is it about anything? What is it about? And then what are the keywords that are important to each one of these pillars that I'm talking about consistently, and then I'm going to find that adds value to this community? Just write them all down. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's Thanksgiving stuffing recipes. I mean, I've actually done Thanksgiving stuffing recipe keywords. Like, just write down the words that bring value to the community for each one of the pillars. Those will then become the fundamentals for your hashtags. So those keywords, let's say it's Thanksgiving stuffing recipe, right? Is it a keyword to clean holiday eating, which is one of my pillars, clean eating, right? So I'm going to look up Thanksgiving stuffing and I'm going to find all the relevant hashtags that have to do with Thanksgiving stuffing. Sage, sausage, savory. What are the hashtags that follow along with those keywords of that particular pillar? Let's define all of those and make a list. You want to print this out several times. There can't be too many. You really have to base the relevancy on the hashtag about what is trending. So that really becomes about making that list and coming back to you and keep coming back to you and keep coming back to you and updating these certain hashtags based off what is trending. It's kind of like a baseline category for you where you're going to just create and where you're going to have this reference. And so now the goal is going to be about consistency. Again, with this word, right? The goal of social media, how this actually works, how you actually execute, how things really end up transacting is about consistency. It's about action. It's about massive action. And that means showing up every single day. That doesn't mean it takes over your life. That doesn't mean that this is a pain in the ass. This just means that you set up a schedule for you to post every day consistently on the schedule. There are scheduler apps that you can use so you don't have to manually do this. But I really want, if this is your first time using social media, which I doubt it because everyone's on social media, I want you to post one time a day, every single day, consistently on Instagram and on TikTok. If you're already doing that, you need to post consistently 2 times a day, both platforms. If you're already doing that, you need to post consistently 3 times a day. That is the name of the game. If you're telling me, I mean, right now, I think everyone who's listening to this is probably like, you are insane. Because I remember listening to Gary Vee and him being like, 3 times a day, 15 platforms, like 100 pieces of content a month. And I was like, you're out of your friggin' mind. There's no way I'm doing that. That's too overwhelming for me. I just don't have it. And I think the immediate reaction for every single person is like, it is reaction of like resistance. And so I can say that I've gone through this process of reacting and resistance, and it's about leaning into that and organizing your content in a way that this is about batch creating. So I'm going to teach you how to create a month's worth of content in 2 hours and set yourself completely so you don't have to deal with this from a space of resistance. Also, if you think people are going to unfollow you because you're posting too much, let them. They don't care about what you're saying, and you don't want people to follow you if they're not going to be engaged in what you're talking about. If you lose followers, that is fine. You want people who care about the information that you're providing to them. You're providing them value. You want people to see that value in what you're telling them because you're creating value for them. That is the audience. That is the community that you're trying to build. If you look at this from a perspective of what the value is that you're creating for your audience, you're building a community, not selling things. See how that's very different. You're going to find a way to eventually create something that you will make revenue off because of the fact that you're adding value to a community that you're building. So if you lose followers, it does not matter whatsoever. Who cares about those people? You can do all of the research that you want. Go listen to Gary Vee. He literally talks about this 50 pieces of content 3 times a day on 15 different platforms. We're starting with 2 platforms, and we're going to do this 1 time a day. And then we're going to do it 2 times a day, and we're going to do it 3 times a day. We're going to batch create content. So this is easy, and you can just generate all your content, and this doesn't have to be overwhelming, and it doesn't have to be something you respond to all the time. So let's talk about how you break this down. So it's the easiest approach for you to batch create content on social media, and it's the best way for you to get the biggest bang for your buck without it becoming overwhelming. Because if you're starting from ground zero, this can feel very overwhelming, and we want to like break this down into smaller pieces so it's very easy to execute. And it's about time management. So that is what we're doing. We're time blocking, and we're executing, and we're batch creating. Also, I want to say that this doesn't have to look perfect. I think a lot of people get stuck in social media content creation because they feel like it has to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. You have to show up energetically like you are an expert in your field. You have to show up like you know what you're talking about, and you're bold in that ownership. And if you show up on social media like, well, I just wanted to like really talk about maybe if you wanted to know about, no one's going to listen to what you're saying. You have to show up energetically like you're an expert, which is why we did the exercises yesterday of what you claiming you're an expert in. You don't have to be polished. Your hair doesn't have to be perfect every time. People want to see that you're human. Don't show up sloppy. Don't show up messy. Show up like you know what you're talking about, but it's okay to be in workout clothes one day. It's okay to post a quick video of you because you are walking. People want to see that you're human. They don't want to see a version of perfectionism because we're all human, and that like human connection is what is going to resonate. People don't want to see super polished. They don't want to see everything's perfect. Everybody's struggling. It's okay. They want to see that you're just like them, especially when you're talking to a community of people who you're trying to gain relevancy as an expert in something. They want to know that you're a human being. And that community is going to attach to you because you're being authentic and because you're being vulnerable with them. And so if you're talking about makeup, and makeup is one of the ways that you're showing up, do the process from a nude face. Have no makeup on and look raw, and then start your process so people get to see the transformation of that, and you're showing up authentically about who you are. So that's really important. Don't be crazy worried. If you have a zit on your, like, it doesn't matter. Just show up. So that's really, really important. Don't get caught up in perfectionism. Okay, now we're going to get into this is how you actually do it. This is how you create a month's worth of content in 2 hours. So we're time hacking, we are success hacking, and we are making your life easier than ever before. Now, one of the things that my clients and entrepreneurs in general, one of the things I hear about content that content creation is hard. And I know from my own experience, I've struggled with this. I've spent hours per day, sometimes trying to think of what I was going to say, or like almost a fear of content, a fear of sounding stupid. I was consistent for a few days at a time, and then I would fall off. Life would get in the way. I would make up excuses. I wouldn't be able to keep up with the rhythm of posting daily or posting 3 times a day or 4 times a day, like I saw everybody else doing. It just made no sense to me. And I was trying so hard, but it didn't find a way to make it. I couldn't figure it out. And so I then figured out how to do this. And because I was like so in my shit about it, it made me feel guilty. It made me feel guilty that I wasn't being consistent, that I wasn't really providing value for my audience. And I was feeling bad and beating myself up about it. So it felt gross. And I was like, I love to write, and I love art, and I'm a creative, and I love storytelling, and I love creating content, but I was making it a chore. And I really don't want your journey and your business and this process for you to feel like a chore. I want you to enjoy all of these different parts of this business. And so this system, this structure is a way of doing things when it comes down to writing your content and how it can really help you find more love and joy in this process. So I'm an introvert. And when I first started in when I first started social media, I didn't want to show up because I was out of my comfort zone. And so it was really resistant for me. And so how I handled that was I started documenting my process. I started telling people how I was doing things, which is what I'm doing here, but from a post position, right? So I would take a picture of something and I would post it as part of a process, which is a very Gary Vee thing to do as well, rather than having to always think about content and kind of conjure up. You were just taking people on the journey with you. And so that was a great way for me to create certain content, but it was also kind of holding me back in a way because it wasn't really solving the problem that I wanted to solve for my audience. It was telling a story. So that element was great. And it's a really great pillar, but it can't be your only pillar. So it kept coming back to me that there wasn't enough hours in the day, that I was like feeling still overwhelmed. And this whole experience is about having more joy, having the energy and the excitement to do it. And for me, I believe that life and humans and business is very cyclical, and we don't have to be on all the time. We don't have to be going 100 miles an hour all the time. There's a natural ebb and flow. And so this system follows you and really helps you work with a cycle of an ebb and flow. So your energy and your inspiration and your creativity can be flowing instead of constantly having to. And so I don't want you to have to do something every day. I don't want you to feel guilty anymore in your business. I want this to be fun. So that's what I would love for you to do. So let's write a month's worth of content in less than 2 hours. And I want you to first think about what we did yesterday and decide on the 3 to 5 important topics, brand pillars that you want to talk about in your social media. So for me, it could be an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, it can be wealth, it can be real estate investing. Those are examples of topic. So money is an example for a topic. I might talk about coaching. I might talk about my origin story or the ideas of finding strength through struggle. What it's really taken me to find success. I might talk about female empowerment, whatever this comes up for you. So I want you to be clear, first of all, like what your audience is going to be expecting from you. What types of things can you educate and inspire them with? What is that? You're an expert. What lights you up? What do you love talking about? I love talking about health. So thinking about, where do you find your joy? We want to really live in that and lean into joy, because that's what you're sharing. And people are going to powerfully receive that means from your content. And it's going to be so much better. They're going to feel that you are joyful. They're going to feel that you care about this. And it's important for you to have an impact. So decide on your 5 most important topics and let's talk about it. I want to share with you, I'm going to share a screen. Let me do this. So this is an example of a brain dump that I did, similar to what the exercises we've been talking about yesterday. So this is just really jotting down pillars, jotting down ideas, jotting down whatever comes up in my mind, tools for execution, commitment, self-worth, self-love, how to learn to love your darkness just as much as you love your light, inspiration, owning your shit. Shame is the root of a lot of human problems. That's a big one. But this, I just brain dumped. Okay. And this wasn't something that I did one day. This is something that I kept coming back to, and I was journaling about, and I was writing about, and I just started this drive file, and I just started adding to it and adding to it and adding to it. Like, if I were to build a website, what would I want on my website? All of these things kind of really encompass what I believe in, like community, showing me your friends and I will show you your future, connection to community without attachment. You are your community, surrounding yourself with like-minded people who believe in a growth mindset, hiring coaches, like finding mentors, doing the work. This is just a brain dump with no attachment to what it has to become, with no attachment to where this is going. This is an inspiration brain dump. And this is how I created my pillars. So this turned into something else, which turned into something else. But this is how it all started. So really just Like here's actually a website scope. Just beauty, products, regimen, facial tools, gua shas, jade rollers, cupping, lymphatic drainage for your body. Like, and now look at what it's turned into. So just getting brands that I love, what I stand for, my mental and spiritual life, like just dumping down these ideas. So that kind of gives you an idea on how to just throw it down on the creative aspect of it in yesterday's exercises and just keep pushing that further and further. Second, I want you to open up the spreadsheet. So on that spreadsheet, spreadsheets, I used to hate spreadsheets, right? Now I love them. I feel like I've done a lot of self-coaching over the years. I really got out of my own way with a lot of the stuff, and it's a process and it's all okay. But you just have to come back to being consistent. So I was not a spreadsheet person, and now I am. I love tracking sheets, especially when you're batch creating content for a lot of different verticals. It's really important because everything can feel super overwhelming. And when you have the spreadsheet, it just becomes like a check mark. So open up your spreadsheet. On the top of the first worksheet, there are 5 pillars. So you're going to have 5 columns that are going to be the topics that we talked about in yesterday's experience, your brand pillars. Write down what those brand pillars are. And I want you to decide what type of content you want to share. So you might want to write written posts. It might be all video posts. It might be a mixture of both. So this, again, is about what you enjoy doing and how can you most powerfully get that message across to your audience? How can you most powerfully bring them value? So I use video, I use audio, I've done podcast interviews. So I've done a lot of written posts, and really I love testing things to see what works and see what doesn't work. And I can see what like more is landing with my audience and where the traction's coming. And then I can lean more into that. So I want to see you guys kind of figure out what you prefer and then listen and then look and then test those things. So I'll try things out no matter what. Whatever works, and then I'll do more of that thing. So you might want to start and decide that you want to mix and you want to really see what's landing and you want to really see what feels good for you and feels good for your community and what people are starting to respond to. So let's say, for example, you're going to start with an equal amount of written posts and an equal amount of pre-recorded videos, reels, or Instagram reels. I love a reel. I used to hate reels. Now, let's say if you're going to choose those, you've got to choose those 5 topics in your spreadsheet, and you want to do 6 pieces of content for each one of those topics. If you choose 6 pieces of content for each one of those topics, you have 30 pieces of content. That's a month's worth of content right there. Now, for each topic, you've got 6 posts. So let's say you're going to do some reels, some pre-recorded videos, and some written posts. Now it feels a lot easier. You know that you're going to do 2 of these, 2 of these, and 2 of these for each type of category. And like, oh my God, it's not that bad anymore. A reel is only 60 seconds. You're only talking for 60 seconds. So if you record 6 of them, that's only 6 minutes of recording. It doesn't really seem impossible anymore. So it's possible, and it's super possible. And once you get the structure and you get this broken down into bite-sized chunks, you can decide what you want in terms of what types of content, and then just map it out in the spreadsheet. And all you have to do is think about the specific things for each topic and what type of medium. So it's 2 reels to video. I want to think about stories and illustrate those points that you want to teach and some teaching points on how to. So that can be two ways to help you come up with the content more easily, because it's really easy to remember the stories. Let's say I want to teach someone how to get, I don't know, how to get so like how to get more one-on-one coaching clients, right? I'm going to share a story on social media about how to do that. And it's going to give you easier access to the information, or it might be something that you just know how to teach. And it might be, just okay. And it's just this idea of the topic. I can see that I've got a positive mindset theme. One thing I know is really cool is teaching people positive mindset. And in that is positive emotions, self-love, affirmations. So here's how I would teach that. Here are 20 affirmations that I say to myself every single day. And it's a video of me saying those affirmations. And this becomes like a springboard. Like you kind of like have this idea, and then you can like bounce off of that. So where can I take that concept? Can I write those affirmations down? Can I write each affirmation down? And so those 20 affirmations that I say to myself is one piece of content in video format, but then I can also have 20 static pieces, one for each affirmation. And right there, I have 21 pieces of content. Then I can take those 20 static pieces and seam them together in a video, and I have another reel. So I have 2 reels and 20 static posts because of one idea that I was just sitting here thinking about. That's 22 pieces of content. That's almost a month right there. So think about your stories. Think about how you can teach these points and illustrate the point that you're trying to make, and just put it in the spreadsheet. So now you can see that you've got 50 different ideas for you, and all you have to actually do is just write it down and then write the month. It's super easy. And so the 5th part of this is setting aside time in your calendar. So set aside a couple hours in your calendar, block it, and it is a non-negotiable. You are going to have peace and quiet. You are going to get focused, and you're going to focus on a flow state where you're going to be ready to write. And then you're going to open up your spreadsheet and you're going to do the work. It's so much easier now that it's set and you can just channel and write your content. You've got a plan to follow. It's not about reacting and getting it out there and, oh my God, it's just who you are. And you already wrote your ideas down. And so that feeling of overwhelm, that feeling of worry is now just become a step-by-step process of structure that's laid out. And this makes it super simple. And it's so much easier to approach, and being able to create this content in advance and then schedule it and send it to your team, or have a spreadsheet ready to copy and paste, or get it in Planly, or get it in Loomly, or get it in later. It's just going to save you a ton of time. And it's going to save you from that feeling of not, and also you're going to become consistent. And that consistency is going to build the momentum, and you're not going to spiral down into guilt or shame or negative thinking that is going to pull you out of the process completely. Instead, it means that you're going to have quick access to content that can give you a post every single day. So this gives you a really great cadence. It gives you a really great frequency, a good rhythm to your content. And the other thing it can actually help you do, it can help you become much more inspired. It can make you feel much more inspired about what you're doing, because you're taking out all of those negative emotions And like those negative emotions have been surrounding your content creation process for so long. Now it's just about the positive parts, the positive psychology that is contracted in this emotional state. When it's a negative emotional state, it's really state, a negative emotional state. It's really hard to come up with ideas, and to feel creative and write something down is going to inspire people. So you want to be in a good mood. You want to get consistent with your content. The next 30 days, you're going to feel great about this. You're going to have a baseline. It's going to be a great grounding. And you know that something is going, like, really good is going to come out of this, and you're going to have a non-negotiable. And that gives you the opportunity to feel more inspired and feel really supported within the system of your business. So you can feel like you can really document more and become much more transparent and authentic with your community. It's a very different energy operating your business from this type of space. It feels so much better. And I'm really, really excited for you guys to try this. Please let me know how it goes. And this is like one of my favorite things to do that used to be my least favorite thing to do. And I can't believe that I actually talk about this, because I hated doing this so much. And now I love it. And I batch create all my content, and I do more than 30 at a time. I think you guys can see that there's certain videos that look similar, but they show up at different times. I'm wearing the same red pants, but they show up all these different times. That's because I batch create my content. And it might feel like a stretch for you to start, but and if it does, just do 14 days, and that might feel easier. But those things that were once hard, you will actually do them without even thinking about them, because that's what happens. You evolve and you get used to different practices. As a human being, you're always unfolding and expanding. We're always growing, and we're always able to hold more responsibility. You probably can look back at a lot of things in your life that you didn't think were humanly possible, and you did them. So we have the ability to hold so much, and we're able to cope with so much, and you're so capable. And I promise you that doing this is going to make your life so much easier. So I want you to go and implement this. I want you to go and try it and test it and find out how it fits your business, how it fits your brand identity. And that's it. So we've covered these 5 steps in how to write a month's worth of content in 2 hours by deciding on the 5 most important topics for you to talk about, opening up your spreadsheet and writing these topics down in the columns, deciding on the types of content you want to share, thinking of the stories or the teaching points that illustrate those points that you want to make, and then setting out the time blocked in your calendar to get the work done. So I hope this has been super helpful. I don't know what's going on today. Can't talk. For you guys, I will see you tomorrow for the next day of this workshop. I hope this really helps, and it's going to be awesome. And I'm so proud of you for leaning into this and making this change, creating consistency, creating the ability for people to see and trust what you're talking about, providing information to an audience, engaging with an audience, providing them value, and building a community that you will then turn into an income generating stream. So we will talk tomorrow. Have a great night.